look at Tina's background for Wear Orange Wednesday. Ooh, and John's got one too. So does Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Lori. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. We're going to let everybody in to our Zoom room today. Welcome. Welcome. All right. We're still letting people in here, but as we're getting settled in, hi, put in the chat where you're coming to us from, whether you're a new person to us or we've known you from day one. We'd love to say hi and see where you are coming to us from today. And also, how's the weather? It's colder here, but you can feel the sun on your face, like spring's wanting to peek out some more, right, Emily?
Yep.
So welcome in, everyone. All right, we're going to get started because it is 2:00 on the Eastern time zone. And that means it is another time to get together like we do every Wednesday for Life Amplified. Welcome, everyone. Welcome in. And I can see Nick is helping us from behind the screen and we're letting folks in still, right? Okay, wonderful. So we'll get started with our general introductions and then we'll talk with you about what we're doing today, which is the second week of Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month. Woohoo. And since it is the second Wednesday, it's also Wear Orange Wednesday. We've got our orange pins on, and I see lots of folks who are joining us live have their orange on too. We love that. We tried to make an orange light in the background. It's a little bit yellow, but when you see the recording on Friday, we're going to really amp it up so that it's orange in our studio too. We'll try to continue doing that just so we spread awareness, which is the point of Wear Orange Wednesday. But because it is Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month, Emily, we are doing sessions all month long related to the cause. Mm-hmm. And today we are talking about So Everybody Can Move. And we've got some guests who are going to be talking to us about the movement in their state. So, but sit tight with us right now because we're going to start with our general introductions to who we are and what we're doing here. So I'm Jennifer. I'm the Executive Director for Amputee Aid. This is Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi, social worker. Nice to see y'all.
And Amputee Aid is a 501c3 nonprofit located right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, serving folks all over the country and in Canada now. Thank you and hello to our Canadian friends who have limb loss or limb difference. One of the many things that we do, in addition to financial support, social services, mental health services, and resource navigation, is host a weekly webinar, Life Amplified, every Wednesday right here on Zoom and TikTok. Hi to all of our TikTok friends. That is where you are today. And it's in part educational. We hope it's a lot of fun. We do lots of giveaways today because it's a serious conversation. We're going to focus on the serious conversation. But if you come back next week, we're going to do some more giveaways because as many of you know, if you've been here for a while, I like getting free stuff. And we've got some new free stuff coming in the mail, including a gigantic gift package from the Florida Sauce Company. So someone's going to get all kinds of sauces. So we'll be doing that next week. Today, we're going to gift you with something else, which is the knowledge of So Everybody Can Move, why it matters, what it is, how you can get involved in your own state. And all of these things are centered around the topic of dun, 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 insurance reform. All right. Mm-hmm. So and we're going to start with our guests in a moment here. But there are some things that we always like to do when we get started with Life Amplified, one of which I see many of you doing already, which is put in the chat where you're coming to us from and how the weather is in your area. And I would say we're going to add one more piece to the mix, okay? It's relevant to our topic, which is, have you ever been denied coverage by insurance for something? Have you ever had this happen to you? Okay, so let's set the tone now. Not to start on a negative note, but to really hammer home the point that this is something that everybody experiences. And So Everybody Can Move movement is trying to make it easier for folks. So where you're coming to us from, how the weather is in your area. And number 3, have you ever experienced an insurance denial? Okay. We'll talk with you near the end of our session about resources and opportunities you might have to deal with that. One of which is So Everybody Can Move on the advocacy side. Another which is Emily and Jennifer for insurance appeals and resource navigation. All right. So as we're getting started, Emily, I think there are some rules that we always want. Say rules lightly, some policies and some expectations we have for our webinar that you're going to share with us.
Yeah, some boundaries.
Okay.
So this is a safe place. Please be mindful and respectful of other people and their comments. And we encourage comments and questions in the chat. So just please be respectful of everyone. And then also, Jennifer and I can see all your lovely faces or your profile pictures, but no one else can. So, but if this is being recorded, so if you're someone who doesn't want their voice recorded, just know that if you do come off mute, it will be caught on the internet. So if you don't want that to occur, you can always just drop in the chat either your comment or your question, and we'll be happy to get to those.
Yeah. Nick is reading the chat for us today because it's super tiny on our screen. And although we both wear glasses, the prescriptions are not that good. So Nick will be monitoring the chat for us, and he will alert us if you have a comment that you want to share in the chat. But please, you all know we are unscripted and off the cuff a lot of the time. So feel free to raise your little emoji hand if you are on Zoom with the little reactions at the bottom of your screen, or just interrupt. We love interrupting. Well, I don't know if we love it, but I'll say I do it all the time. All right. So nobody will be offended if you interrupt during our conversation. Keep in mind that because we are recording and this will go on the internet, yes, what you say can be captured on the internet. So this is not the time to say things are a little bit politically charged or emotionally charged. We do send the recording out every Friday. If you are on our email list, if you're not, email us info@amputee-aid.com. and you will get a copy of the recording. This is one that we want to do a really stellar job at because policymakers, decision makers, our legislators, other folks who are interested in So Everybody Can Move movement are probably going to watch it. So we're going to take our time and have an intelligent conversation today. But we would love to hear from all of you as well. Experiences, things that you've heard about, questions that you have. This is an open place to have that conversation. Okay. All right. So I think we can get started. What do you think? Yeah. All right. So today's topic in a continuation of our series on the Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month is on So Everybody Can Move. Now, we invited lots of states to show up. And Emily and I will be talking from the Pennsylvania side of things. We are going to be doing a recording, a podcast with our Wisconsin friends who unfortunately had a last minute change and could not be with us today. Totally fine. We love it. If the reason is I'm working, advocating for the cause, that's okay. All right. But we are fortunate to have as a last minute and very gracious request, our friends from Connecticut here. Woohoo! Hey. Thank you very much. So Jeff is going to be here, and I think Brenda as well. And they are going to be talking with us as we talk as well. So kind of roundtable conversation, open-ended conversation about So Everybody Can Move in their specific experience in their state. So thank you both for being here today. We're going to get settled into having a question and answer period. We will have questions at the end as well. But as we're getting settled into this topic, Emily, tell us a little bit more in general what So Everybody Can Move is.
Yes. All right. So Everyone Can Move, So Everybody Can Move is a national advocacy campaign focused on improving insurance coverage for people with limb loss and limb difference. So the purpose is that it seeks to reform insurance policies so that prosthetic and orthotic devices used for physical activity, running, sports, exercise, are covered by health insurance when deemed medically necessary. So it addresses the issue that many insurance plans cover basic prosthetics for daily activities, but they deny coverage for specialized activities, labeling them not medically necessary. And this can leave patients paying out of pocket anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 to stay active. And so this reform, it's state legislation that's pushed by the campaign, and it requires that certain insurance plans cover additional activity-specific prostheses or including the fitting, components, repairs, and the maintenance for those devices. And who leads it? The effort is led by a coalition of organizers, including Amputee Coalition, American Orthotic and Prosthetic Association, and other advocacy groups. And the strategy is that it works state by state to pass legislation requiring that insurance coverage with the long-term goal of nationwide policy reforms. And so the initiative argues that movement medicine, access to activity-specific prosthetics helps prevent secondary health problems, supports independence, and improves the quality of life for individuals with limb loss and limb difference.
There you go. That's everything you need to know. Our webinar is done. Emily answered all the questions for us. So we're going to talk more specifically. And hi to our folks who have joined us maybe after we got started. Put in the chat where you're coming to us from, how the weather is in your area, and whether you've ever experienced an insurance denial, because that is a topic we are discussing today. What happens, and specifically, how can on a grassroots level we make some changes? So I would love our friends from Connecticut to unmute and say hi. Introduce yourselves first, because you are, I mean this nicely, but you're on the hot seat with Emily and with me to answer these questions. So hello to our friends from Connecticut.
Hello.
Hi there. All right. So introduce yourselves first. For I'm sure lots of folks already know you because, and we mean this nicely, we see you on all the groups, and that means that you are important. And then we are lucky to have you here with our group too. We want to be part. We aspire to be part of the many groups that people like to go to. So introduce yourselves first to maybe folks who are watching our recording or who are joining us live on Zoom or TikTok and might not know who you all are.
Okay. So I'll start off. My name is Jeff, and I'm from Stonington, Mystic, Connecticut. I'm a right below the knee amputee as of in August of 22 from a motorcycle accident that actually occurred in 1978, but didn't get the amputation until 44 years later.
Wow. Okay. And all right. And I know, Jeff, you have one of your partners here with you as well. Is that right?
Yes, I see that Brenda is on.
Hi, Brenda. Yeah. Welcome to Life Amplified. So, Brenda, I hope this is the first of many sessions that we have with you all, but also you're always welcome to come and join us whenever you have an opportunity. But please, welcome to our webinar, and please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you as well.
Thank you. This is the first time I've joined you. Thanks to Jeff. He's the one who introduced me to your group and your organization. So, my name's Brenda Novak. I live in Connecticut, in Branford, which is on the shoreline right next to New Haven. The weather's beautiful. Blue sky today.
Lucky.
I'm one of the co-founders of Connecticut Amputee Network, and we got together rather informally in 2017 to fight for insurance fairness or parity. We called it in 2017, and we were able to get a law passed in 2018 that made coverage for prosthetics based on medical necessity.
Awesome.
So that was a big, and honestly, we were just two citizen advocates. We didn't really know anything about how to get them done, but we were lucky to just find people that were very helpful. So we had a government relations person from a local hospital. While we were in the legislative office building, we met a lobbyist. I think he was working for AT&T, but he just thought we were doing great stuff. So he would give us tips like, you got to get in there now.
Amazing.
So we know now a lot more about how this works. So we know we're very lucky. But we formed this organization with the goal of education, peer visits, and just advocating for amputees in any way that they needed help, because we had been through, the two of us, Herb Kolodny and I, had been through a lot of experience as amputees, and also to do legislative advocacy. So when So Everybody Can Move started getting momentum, they came and started helping us. So we've introduced this bill in 2024 and 2025, and it went nowhere. It didn't get out of committee. This year, So Everybody Can Move gave us additional help. I don't even know how they found them, but we have a PR team that's working pro bono and a lobbyist that's working pro bono. Amazing. And anyone that wants to work in their state on this legislation, I recommend they get in touch with So Everybody Can Move, because they have lead advocates in pretty much every state.
Let's pause there for a moment, Brenda, because that's one thing I wanted to just kind of start as we're asking questions is, and Emily alluded to this too, is, there is this kind of national support, but very much a state-by-state grassroots citizen-led movement. And you use this phrase, Brenda, that I wanted to come back to, which is for your prior legislation, you were two citizen advocates. You got to learn as you go. And I think So Everybody Can Move is a good example of where when people feel like, I got to do something, you actually have the power in your state to do something, because it is a state-by-state, small, but not in a bad way, grassroots kind of effort. Am I right about that, Brenda?
Yes. And it's because insurance is regulated by the state. So if we get a federal law passed, then that will supersede the state laws. But at this point, it's state by state, because that's how insurance is regulated.
So let's talk about that. And this could be for either Brenda or Jeff or both of you. Some people might not know yet, although we heard an introduction from Emily, what we're talking about when we say So Everybody Can Move. And there's something related to that, which is 28 by 28, right? passing 28 states passing this legislation by the year 2028 for something else to happen. Could one or both of you kind of explain, there's a state effort, but also kind of a longer term plan federally. Talk to us about that and why that matters.
I'm not really familiar with that, I'm afraid. Jeff, do you know more about that?
No,
I know 28 by 28, but that's it.
So the 20 by 28 is that we're trying to get 28 states legislation enacted by the year 2028 when the Paralympics happen in 2028. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brenda, but currently I believe that there are 12 states that have enacted legislation.
We just got one more, so it's 13.
Awesome.
13. Great.
Okay. Unfortunately, Connecticut and Pennsylvania are not on the list yet. All right. But we're aiming for it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So it's a very long process. As Brenda knows, she's been in this for a lot longer than I have. But it's, as Brenda shared with another group that we belong to, that the legislation process is a very slow and arduous process. It took me months to get one representative to sign on to the bill. So it is very arduous.
Can we talk a little bit, Brenda, about, so you had mentioned last 2 years, the bill went nowhere. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what specifics are in the bill? What is it specifically that your group is asking Connecticut to do?
So we got the law passed in 2018 that said prosthetics need to be approved based on medical necessity, but it specifically excluded athletic prostheses. And so for us, we want to remove that language. We also want to add orthoses, so prosthetics and orthotics that are activity specific. So rather than athletic, we're saying activity specific because it could be a shower leg. It could be that with your daily walking leg or arm, if you're upper limb, whatever it is that you need. Maybe you can't crawl on the floor with your grandchildren. So just whatever it is that your doctor agrees is going to help you return to function. So an important part of all of this is that the resistance we hear often in the legislature is no more insurance mandates, because this is going to cost the state money. And our argument is that under the Affordable Care Act, it defines essential health benefits. And one of those essential health benefits is rehabilitative care. And rehabilitative care is defined as returning you to function. So if you used to run every day, then you should be able to run every day. Whatever it is, if you used to do yoga and you're an upper limb amputee, then get an additional device that allows you to do yoga. Because if you know, a cook or a hand that's in this position can't be in this position to do yoga. Right. So whatever it is, if your doctor agrees this is going to help you, then you should be able to get it.
Brenda, you're reminding me of a comment that we had last week on our webinar, our opening day to Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month, where there was some frustration expressed, rightfully so, by the way, about the fact that insurance denies things like a water leg, right, for our folks who are lower extremity amputees. And the comment that I had made was, it's mind-boggling to me that insurance companies want you to be healthy and active, but they will not give you the materials and the supplies to, in fact, be active and healthy, right? And I bet a lot of you put up an emoji. I would not say a heart emoji because this is not something we love. Maybe a frowny face or a thumbs down, unless you're, something, if you've experienced that, where you're not able to get your shower leg, your water leg, your running leg, your adaptive device so that you can cook if you're upper extremity, right? Is that kind of the idea here? Is that it doesn't make sense for an insurance company to say be healthy but not give you the materials to be healthy?
Absolutely. And that, unfortunately, that's logic that we can't figure out with insurance companies. I think the bottom line is they don't look at long-term savings. They look at their annual budget. And in their annual budget, they say, oh, we had to pay for this extra arm and it was, $80,000. they're not looking at the fact that they're saving hundreds of thousands down the road.
Yes.
And Brenda, if I can jump in there, it's, when I first had my amputation, I was supposed to spend 3 days in the hospital and then up to 7 days in rehab. And the insurance company that I had was one of the major insurance companies, and they denied the rehab. The hospital, Mass General Hospital, said, we're not letting you go home until they approve your rehab. They kept me in the hospital for 11 days, which the insurance company paid for, but ended up saying, we have to send you home. We can't keep you here anymore. And it was a year later that I went to get a shower leg. The insurance company denied that. Now, recently, I just had a left foot accelerator installed in my vehicle because after 3.5 years of driving with my left foot and twisting my body to reach the accelerator, I developed disc issues in my back, which required surgery, which the insurance company paid for, but the $3,200 that it costs to have the left foot accelerator installed is not even considered by insurance companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those, so I don't know how insurance companies make these arguments, but these stories are really helpful in convincing legislators that it just makes sense.
Yes.
So every time we're able to sit down with a legislator and tell them how things work and our personal experiences, they usually say that just makes sense.
Yeah. Could we talk about that a little bit more, Brenda? I would like if we could pull back the curtain of mystery here and talk about the mechanics for people who have never been involved with lobbying or submitting a bill or what that even looks like. And now everyone be aware, live and on our recordings, every state is different. Okay. So that's my non-legal legal disclaimer. Every state is different with their budget periods, how often their legislators meet, when they're inside, all of the things. Okay. So what we're about to discuss now is general information only, but I think it'd be interesting for people to know, how does this actually work? Okay. And before we get to that, I just want to kind of summarize Jeff's point because I was thinking the same thing, Jeff. I think one of the points you're making, and you probably hear about this when you're telling stories to policymakers, is the cumulative effects of not having an adaptive device or coverage for something, right? So yes, you're denying a running blade. Well, that's ultimately going to cause health issues down the road that actually cost the insurance company more money. I imagine that's maybe one of the stories that you tell a decision maker. But Brenda, let's start with you. Since you've done this once before with the insurance parity, how does it actually work, at least in your state, from the point of, I have an idea, I want to change the law, to actually having that happen? It's not overnight. You're not just sending an email to the governor, right? How does it work? Give us the background here.
Well, a good starting point is the Schoolhouse Rock piece, I'm Just a Bill.
Yes.
So that's talking about the national level, but it's very similar. I do know that every state except Nebraska has two houses. They have a House and a Senate. So there are two halves to the whatever your state government is called. In Connecticut, it's called the General Assembly. And I'll just speak about Connecticut. There's specific committees. If you want to raise a bill, you want to change a law, you need to raise a bill. And so you find out which committee regulates that topic. And in Connecticut, it's the Insurance and Real Estate Committee. Don't know why those two are put together, but
it's a mystery. Yes.
So you need to find a legislator to raise the bill. And I think the best way to start is talk to your representatives. So in Connecticut, I have a local representative and a local senator. And, they have their own districts that are different. And, I vote for them every 2 years, I think. I don't even know. And then once the bill is raised, then the committee discusses it and decides whether or not to bring it to a vote. during that process, there's an opportunity for public input, public comment. So they hold a public hearing where you can testify in person. They also accept testimony by mail or online. And so that's another opportunity where you can recruit people to show up for public testimony. You can recruit people to send written testimony. And also you can set up meetings to try to talk to people and convince them. That's where the lobbyist has really helped us, because she got us in to see the Speaker of the House. But also so we managed to get people involved from different parts of the state. So we have different representatives who may or may not be on that committee, but we can always communicate with them. They often have, when the government is out of session, it's called they're in district, meaning they're back home. And sometimes it's easier to get to meet them in person at that time. Sometimes they just have public hours, either in a coffee shop, or here it was at the local library. They're just open for you to come in and ask questions. And that part is not that intimidating. Another great thing to do is ask them for help. Say, what's the next step and how do I get this done? So we had a lot of help that way as well the first time around.
Brenda, you mentioned this time with the So Everybody Can Move legislation, you have a PR person. And so talk to us a little bit about that. How does public relations PR type of work, how does that interact with the kind of boots on the ground, so to speak, like advocacy and hearings, and kind of how do those things work together?
Well, they know, they already have media contacts, and they know what is going to be the best spot to place either an op-ed or just contact them. Or so also they set up a press conference for us, so they know the legislators, they know the media contacts, and they say, let's have a public event so we can try to create some publicity. We did have it was the public hearing. We had a local TV station interview a mother and daughter that came to testify. And unfortunately, what happened? There was like a major weather event that day, so it didn't make it on the news. It was one of the things when the airport was closed. So we're hoping it'll be part of a larger story sometime down the road. But we did actually have TV stations show up and interview them. So they help with that. They help teach us what are good moments to, like, for example, they knew that I think it was Friday morning was a good time for a press conference, or which newspapers are more likely to send a reporter. And they also already have those contacts. Like in 2018, we had to go online and search, what are local Connecticut newspapers? Who's the media contact? Who's their health reporter? And these guys, they already know that. And they can call the reporters because they know who would be interested in covering it. It's just another step in the right direction, just to help us, saves us a lot of time.
And that's one thing I was thinking about, Brenda. As you're describing this, I'm thinking of that phrase, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Is that kind of the idea? Like, you want to draw attention to your movement from the outside so that the people who are voting in the committee are aware, number one, but also maybe feel pressured, not in a bad way, but pressured because it's out there. Everyone knows and you're raising awareness. Is that the idea behind the PR side of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and the legislators, if they see media coverage, then they're like, oh, it's just not this one random person. It's bigger than that.
Yeah.
They don't want to get, sure, they're there to, because they want to help or, whatever the reason is for getting in there. But then they want to get reelected. So you have to say, I'm a constituent. I believe this should happen. I need your help.
Yeah. Now, you said something very important, which actually brings us to our next question, which is, it's not just one random person. So Brenda, we're going to stick with you for a minute, and then Jeff, we're going to come to you for the next question. Although certainly anybody could request a bill be considered, it seems to me that something big like insurance reform really requires a united front. And so talk to us a little bit about that. How did you in Connecticut find your people? How did you create your group? And what kind of support do you get from a national kind of level to help you keep your group going and to help maybe come up with discussion points, strategies, that kind of thing? How does that all work?
The way we found people is really from going to support groups in Connecticut and just there's always an opportunity to speak and just stand up and say, I'd like to work on this. Are you interested in helping? And then we would also collect names. We would ask the group facilitators, can we email the group, things like that, just to say, here's more information about what we're doing, and maybe we have a timeline. And that was, Herb and I really started because I was, I think, about 2 years out from amputation and had enough experience. I had really good insurance when my injury happened, so I was very lucky about that. But I recognized how there was a shortfall, and one big thing for me is that I had an opportunity to decide where I was going to live. Like I wanted to buy a house and settle down. And I always thought I grew up in upstate New York, and I always thought I would end up in the city at some point in my life. So I was looking at New York and Brooklyn, and I was also looking at Connecticut because I was living with my brother in Connecticut at the time. And I found out that New York had a 1 limb per lifetime on their insurance.
Wow.
And I said, well, that's that. I'm going back to Connecticut.
No. Right.
So New York is off the list. So I ended up, that's how I got started. And then I met Herb at an adaptive climbing event of all things. And I just said, so, what are you doing? What are you up to? And he said he wanted to fight for insurance fairness. And I just looked at him. I said, me too.
Amazing.
And that was it.
That's what we call, the movie industry calls it a meet cute. When you meet two people and you have this kind of, and here it is, and several years later, you're still going at it strong with the So Everybody Can Move movement. Now, when someone joins the group, they do not have to have a background, Brenda, in policy or advocacy or government, right? You don't have to have like a special degree. They join the group in part to get training and to be part of the movement. Am I right about that?
Yeah, a lot of it is just boots on the ground. It's just calling people, emailing people, going to meetings and meeting more people. It's just, I guess that's networking.
Yeah.
I hate networking, but that's pretty much it. It's just talking to people and recognizing each other's humanity and desire to do something to help yourself and help others.
Yeah. Now, Jeff, tell us, how did you get involved with the Connecticut chapter?
So I got involved again because of the denials that I had for my prosthetics and my adaptive equipment, which is not unusual. And you find somebody and you hear about the So Everybody Can Move initiative, and it's surprising to me. People that I meet here in Connecticut who there are over 45,000 amputees, people with amputees and limb loss, limb difference, who know very little or have never heard of the Amputee Coalition or the support groups that are out there. And if we do have an opportunity to talk, which I usually do, I get them to log on. And this is one of the key things that, I want to focus on here is getting the word out. In a group meeting that we have once a month here at the hospital in London, Connecticut, which Brenda does attend, I had mentioned this was something that I wanted to bring up next month. And it was surprising how little people knew about that, or the Amputee Coalition. And I've brought that up several times, but it's getting the word out repeatedly, I'm now roping my family and a few friends into this, because every voice matters. And, again, I got into it, reading on the Amputee Coalition, So Everybody Can Move site, that, movement is medicine and physical activity is a right, not a privilege. and that's directly from So Everybody Can Move, and that's so true. And so many people spend their days and their years either confined to a home in a wheelchair that they first got. Brenda, the one leg per lifetime, that's an insurance policy. That is unheard of because, a leg is usually 3 to 5 years in longevity. So if they're expecting people to manage the rest of their lives in one leg, what are they doing to people who, get their first basic wheelchair, who are now confined to being home, no physical activity or limited physical activity. So this is something that, I personally need to get involved in for the community. So, I'll say, I hope everyone on the call does log into the So Everybody Can Move campaign and read what it's about. Very important.
And that's a really good point you made about talking to people at the group meetings about Amputee Coalition, because one of the first things I ask when I meet an amputee is, did you have a peer visit? That was another way I learned a lot about other people's struggles with insurance. So I'm a certified peer visitor with Amputee Coalition. And that piece, I have that same experience with people in groups who did not have a peer visit. They did not register with the National Limb Loss Resource Center. They don't know about the resources available to them. And I've also learned one story that I tell legislators now is that as I've gotten older, I now have hypertension and osteoporosis. And so osteoporosis is one of the very common side effects for amputees because you're not weight bearing for legs. You're not weight bearing on your femur. Maybe if you're below knee. But anyway, that I've osteoporosis in my hip, but that's a common ailment. Also, long-term complications. If you have diabetes, vascular disease, once you lose one limb, you're at very high risk for losing another. Also, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure. What's the other? Vascular disease. Anyway, they're very costly chronic conditions that last a lifetime. And as an amputee, you're at much higher risk. So that's it's a great way of explaining to legislators so they can see, here's the long-term consequences we're looking at.
Yeah. And I believe it was Colorado that did a study on what the investment in providing people with prosthetic and prosthoses that get them active. For every $1 that they put into the system, they got $11 in return just by people becoming more active and avoiding these, diseases, osteoporosis and heart disease and all of the rest.
Yeah. And so Brenda and Jeff, what I'm hearing you describe I'm imagining kind of you're in a lobbying meeting or you're with a policymaker or someone. These are the kinds of points, am I right, that you make at those public hearings and those closed door meetings with decision makers about the cumulative effect, the long-term effect, or the larger impact. I think, unfortunately, if someone has never had an experience of limb loss or limb difference, or they don't know anybody in their friend or family circle, like us, Emily and myself, they don't get it. They think running blade is because you want to try out for the Paralympics. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the ability to be healthy for the long term, which affects your mental health, your physical health, the strength of your heart, your blood circulation, what arthritis is going to do to your body, right? And these are kinds of points, the economic outcome, your workforce development. Jeff and Brenda, are these the kinds of discussions that the wider scope or wider, vision discussions that you have with policymakers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If I could,
it's great that we have that study from Colorado also. And we also have a report from New Mexico that since they passed the law, they have seen an increase in premiums from 0 to 0.001%. So it's basically zero impact on policyholders.
There you go. And major impact on folks who are just looking to have not even a stellar quality of life, just a back to normal-ish quality of life. Jeff, you brought up another good point that I don't want to overlook here, which is in many ways a call to action for all of us on Zoom, on our recording, on TikTok. Anytime you meet someone with limb loss or limb difference, please ask them, are you connected to Amputee Coalition? Are you connected to So Everybody Can Move? Ask and share the resources. Everybody should know and be connected because it costs them $0 to be connected, and they get millions and millions of dollars in value of resources and information in return, right? So I'm going to challenge all of you as part of Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month. Every time, literally, if it's somebody at the Home Depot, okay, that you don't know, ask them, are you connected to Amputee Coalition? Are you connected to So Everybody Can Move? At our office, I have business cards, and I'm using Home Depot as an example because I just did it this weekend when I was getting my landscaping supplies. I saw someone who was using a wheelchair who was an amputee, and I gave them my card, not for business, but because I want to make sure the resources and information is out there. It seems like the community can do more, I mean that respectfully, to promote itself. Don't you think, Brenda?
Yeah, and I do that too. Part of it is because I feel like that's my job now, is being an advocate, and I'm very sensitive about approaching people. But I do that. I approach people. Like, I'll be shopping with my mom, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'll be right back. I like run after someone.
Yes. Yes.
And Jeff, you touched on another point about recruiting friends and family, and that's the limb loss and limb difference community includes those people. It includes everyone who's touched by limb loss or limb difference, and it's absolutely good. It's fine. It's okay. It's terrific to ask them to also contact their representatives, write to people, even if it's a different state, and say, I know what this person has experienced. But and before I forget, we use the data, the research data, when we're talking with legislators. But what we've found is they're really convinced by the human stories.
Yeah,
so it's good to have that data in your back pocket if you feel you need it. But they really just are interested. What convinces them is the emotional impact of someone's personal story.
Yeah. I'm just thinking out loud here. I imagine there are some people who have very compelling stories, and I mean this nicely. Some people who maybe aren't prepared yet to talk to a decision maker. I'll use my grandmother as an example because I talk about her a lot. My grandmother was a bilateral baloney amputee. Love her. I miss her every single day. She swore a lot. Okay. So she would probably not be the appropriate person because she would just go in there and say, listen, you Emmer effer, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Although she's very passionate, she would probably not have been appropriate to speak to policymakers. So Brenda, how do you, first, how do you decide whose stories you're telling? And second, if there's somebody who's maybe not comfortable with public speaking, but they still want to be involved, are there other opportunities for them?
Yes, they can always write letters or submit testimony online, or write a letter to the editor of your local paper. But I also think that there are so many different people in the world. I think it'd be fine to have your grandmother go speak to her representative.
Well, she's in heaven now, but I'm sure she's looking down. She'd be like, I'll come back. I will literally haunt that representative's office if I have to. That's how she was.
Yeah. Well, I think, because you were so close with her, I think you could go with her and maybe try to guide her if you feel like she's getting off base, but you could be there as the person who's impacted by her disability. And so I think that it's fine. Everyone's different. Everyone has a story, and whatever your story is, it's part of the big picture.
Tell it.
And there's help with writing letters.
Right.
Right.
You can get the Amputee Coalition, So Everybody Can Move. They have a site where they will actually help you write a letter to your legislation, or your mayor or whoever, particularly with proclamations I just saw the other day. So you're not alone in, writing up your own letter and being, feeling responsible for what you say. You can even use Chat GPT. They're pretty good. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
The resources are there.
With the help of So Everybody Can Move and the PR team, they gave us suggested text, and then we shared that with our mailing list, saying, "Here's a sample text, sample letter." And it was either So Everybody Can Move or Amputee Coalition also set up a web page where you go there and you basically just fill in your name and address, and it sends a letter off to your representative.
Yeah, great. Now, Christy, I see you have your hand up. Did you have a question for our guest speakers today? Oh, we can't hear you. We're going to get you unmuted, or you can press unmute. So we'd love to hear your question.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hi, Christy.
This is for Brenda. This might be a dumb question also, but I don't know if this was related also, but I get the stares when I go to Walmart or whatever, and I'm willing to tell my story, but nobody's asked me what happened or whatever to me. What happened? Is there a problem? Do I say something, or do I know kids look at my pattern on my thing, and I say, "Do you see the cows and stuff?" And I have Highland cows, and I don't know how to say this, but I'm willing to tell my story, but I don't know how to say this, but it's just hard because I get the stares and I get the looks, but I don't know how to say something. I don't know how to say what I want to say, but
let me see if I can recapture that question for you, Brenda. Although Christy's in a different state, I think I have a suggestion for you.
I'm in Nebraska.
I think the one of the larger questions here is some people, they're comfortable talking about what has happened to them. Christy, for example, has got Highland cow design on her socket, and kids like that. But it sounds like, Christy, one of your questions is like, first, no one's asked me to share my story. I can help you with that. I'm going to connect you with the Nebraska people. But second, I'm not even sure how to say it. Like, how do I say it?
Right.
Like, do you help, Brenda, with your group at least? Do you coach people, not just saying like, go to the Amputee Coalition website, look at it, but like, do you also like rehearse and like practice with people before they go talk to a legislator or before they go to a hearing, so that folks like Christy, who maybe are not sure what to say, have an idea before they get in front of an important person?
We haven't, but we would.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just haven't really had a need to do that, but we absolutely would. I know when it was Herb and I, we talked to each other so often that it was, the language was already there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are absolutely happy to do that. But I think I also hear from Christy more of an issue just like being out in public and people being uncomfortable. And one of my first thoughts is, remember, it's not your problem, it's their problem.
Yes.
They're the ones that are uncomfortable. And I think if people look weird at me, I try to make eye contact and just smile and say hi. But there are other times when people have asked, and with kids, I started calling it a robot leg because they kind of kick out of that.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, but I think your work is to feel good about yourself and feel comfortable in your own body. And if they stare, they stare. That's their problem. There are a lot of us out there, and if they haven't seen one of us before, then that's introduction.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know it doesn't help you feel better, but that's the way
you're fine.
Like, I'm okay.
Thank you.
I'm okay. You're not okay.
Kids have a tendency to stare, and parents have a tendency to tap their kids and say, "Don't stare." And I think it's fine. And I'm pretty sure that John and Van have pretty good icebreakers for those types of situations.
I see Dan Gregory's got his hand up. Maybe he'll share a little bit, as long as it's appropriate. But Christy, I'm going to connect you with the Nebraska team so that you can maybe connect with them.
Thank you.
To share your story.
All
Dan
right,
Gregory,
thanks.
you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, yeah, Christy. That situation with people staring and stuff like that. With me, it doesn't bother me so much as kids because kids are just genuinely curious, and it's a way to really educate them. So what I do with kids, I just ask them, "Hey, do you see my leg?" And then that'll because they're gonna answer you, and this is an icebreaker for them. Then, if their parents are around, I ask their parents, "Well, do you mind if I talk to them about it?" And or I'll just ask the child if they want to touch it. And sometimes I'll take it off and let them pick it up and just feel the weight. They'll feel the weight of it because they're just genuinely curious. And I've never had an issue with that. But with adults, it is different because you would think adults would have a little bit more poof to them and not just stare. So when I find adults just staring, I just stare back and smile. you know.
Yeah. Christy, go ahead.
Or just speak to them. Just say hi. How you doing? And make them, carry on a general conversation.
That's a little hard because when Matt's around, if I say something, they look at my leg, look at the couch or something, and Matt goes, "Oh, don't." Matt doesn't like me talking about it. Well, come on, it's my leg, and maybe they want to know about it and stuff. But why can't I talk about it?
Yeah, Christy.
Matt doesn't want me to talk about it.
Christy, you're bringing up a point that is related to a question I wanted to ask Brenda. And I feel very badly about what that experience that you have, Christy. And I'd love to talk with you after the webinar about some resources we can get to you. Because Brenda, and you mentioned this a moment ago, some people are just not comfortable, and shame on them, but some people are just not comfortable. You know what? I shouldn't say shame on them because some of them are just not educated also. But if you're educated and you're uncomfortable, shame on you. If you're not educated, then listen up, right? So we can educate you. But Brenda, whether it's because someone's uncomfortable or they just have no connection to the limb loss or limb difference community, there are challenges in getting this legislation passed. Could you talk to us about what the challenges have been in Connecticut? What have been the barriers that you've seen to getting your legislation through the finish line and actually passed into law?
The biggest challenge is legislators who say, this is an insurance mandate, no mandates. And this year we've had we just had a breakthrough, which is wonderful, because we had one person in the co-chair of the Insurance and Real Estate Committee said that. She said no mandates, period, and would not even bring it up in the committee. But we convinced her. And it was actually just yesterday evening that I found out that she really had changed sides.
Okay, we're sending all the good vibes to you all then. That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was astounding. So she has a young woman in her district who lost her leg to cancer. And her mother and this young woman who's, I think, 14 now, and her mother testified at the public hearing. Then they're in this legislator's district. So she had to really pay attention. And I think that's what switched her. But also, we also were able to give her that information about how it should already be covered under the Affordable Care Act. So it's not a mandate. So I don't know what did it. But last night I was at an event. It was an opening of a new clinic, and she was there. And I just walked up to her and said, thank you. 'Cause at the public hearing, she also made very thoughtful comments to the young woman and her mother. And I just said, thank you for your comments. That was very thoughtful and kind. And she's and then Maggie, who's also on our team, who's the policy expert, also introduced herself and said thank you. And this legislator just said, we have to get this done. And I was just like, I got chills. I was like, oh
Wow.
my gosh, she's on our side now. This is unbelievable. So we have high hopes that it's going to get further. But so that really has been the biggest challenge. I think maybe that and the time frame, because things have to happen at a certain time and have to sometimes it's quick and sometimes it's hurry up and wait.
Yeah. Now,
So
can you
staying
all
on top of the
believe,
calendar?
you know, we're already almost at the end of our webinar. I can't believe it, because I knew this was going to go fast because it's such an amazing conversation, but usually I give a reminder before now. If anyone has a question, now is the time. Okay. And Nick is going to help us read any questions in the chat because Emily and I cannot see them, but I see someone's got their hand up. I can't read that. Oh, Deb. Hi, Deb. Go ahead. Now is the opportunity to ask questions and then we'll give a summary. Okay, Brenda and Jeff. Go ahead, Deb.
Thank you. I'm all for pushing the legislation. We know that takes a very, very long time, though. So in the interim, is it beneficial to contact a local state senator or your actual senator or congressperson representative to back you up if insurance denies something? Especially if it's like medical equipment, like a water leg or, going above and beyond the regular prosthetic. Or PT, for example, as well, because I was denied the PT in the very beginning. Is it possible to contact their office for help?
Yes,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I can't guarantee it'll work, but I think it's worth a try.
Yeah. And remember, your decision makers, your elected officials work for you, right? And if there's a legal issue that they can help with, then they can. Now, if you're having it, I mean, Deb, this is not your example, but I just want to give this example for anyone watching the recording. If you just happen to not like the ice cream that's available at your grocery store, that's not what we're talking about. Okay. It has to be a legitimate issue that has some kind of a legal backing like this. But Brenda and Jeff, what I'm hearing from you is, yeah, you don't have to wait for the legislation to pass in your state. It does not hurt to ask your local elected official for assistance and advocacy on a one-on-one basis as well. Am I right about that, Brenda?
Yes. And It's also always good to say, hey, there's this national movement and I want to help it in my state, just to raise awareness. So when it does come around again, they say, oh yeah, I heard about this. It's a good thing. I know that we have had, I wasn't directly involved, but I know that we've had amputees that reached out to us and Herb worked with them, but we put them in contact with our state senator. So the person at the federal level, and that was helpful. It's usually after a round of denials. So, sometimes they deny without even looking at it the first time. Second time, they look at it a little bit more. And after that, you can either talk to an attorney or whatever you can about, other advocates or legislators.
Yeah. And keep in mind.
Deb,
go ahead, Jeff.
I also, I had an issue with the insurance company that went on for almost 6 months. And I finally ended up writing to the Connecticut Bureau of Insurance. And I can't tell you how quickly it was resolved after that.
Oh, great.
It was in the next 3 weeks that it was resolved.
Yes. Yeah.
So yes, contact your legislative people. Let them know. Let the Insurance Bureau know if you can't get it resolved. The more people who know about it, I think the better off you are.
Yes, and keep in mind your friendly nonprofits, Amputee Aid being one of many, are here to help you with doing exactly that, Deb, as well. So if someone is maybe not as comfortable reaching out to their official or challenging an insurance denial or appealing a decision, that's what we are here for. If you're not connected with us, go to amputee-aid.com, click the little blue Get Help button. But that's always an opportunity. All right, so now here we're going to end on a strong note with Jeff and Brenda, who were gracious to give us their time today. Let's imagine we're doing our last hearing before a vote on your bill. For both of you, I would love to hear, what we call the elevator pitch, like your strongest 30-second, this is why this bill needs to pass. Brenda, what would you say? And then Jeff, what would you say?
Oh, I was going to ask Jeff to go first.
Okay, or Jeff, you're the leader. Jeff, you've been drafted, or we say voluntold. You've been voluntold to go first. You, Jeff, and then we're going to end on Brenda.
I've been to one hearing that Brenda invited me to, and it was amazing. The speakers were amazing. The support staff were amazing. The only thing that I can say is that our voices need to be heard. And if we're not speaking up, we're going to continue to be overlooked, undertreated, and be held back by the inequity of insurance policies today. So, yeah. Brenda?
Okay. I would say something like, I'm a citizen advocate for the limb loss and limb difference community, and we're fighting to get legislation passed that will help amputees return to full function and reduce long-term
Health.
What's the right word? Yeah. Improve their long-term health and quality of life and reduce healthcare expenses.
Yeah. And literally maximum benefit to your amputees and your folks with limb difference who are in your jurisdiction. And Brenda, did I hear this correctly? A less than 0.1% change in cost for insurance companies. Is that right? Very small change for insurance companies, but very large benefit for the people who are actually getting the benefit of those services. Am I right about that?
It was between 1 and 0.001%, but that is the change in premiums that we pay.
There you go. So very small change. Very small change in premiums for a huge benefit for folks. Not to be the next Paralympic star, although we love that too. We love our Todds of the room, but just to be able to live your life, right?
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, stay healthy and do what you want, what you enjoy.
If folks are in Connecticut and they want to know more about your specific group, where do they go to get information?
There's soeverybodycanmove.org. That's the national organization, and they have a Connecticut state page. You can also go directly to soeverybodycanmove.org/state/Connecticut. Or you can go to ctamputeenetwork.org, and we have links. We have information and also links to the national org.
And we'll be sure to include those links with our recording that goes out on Friday. And for everyone, if you're not in Connecticut, you can go to soeverybodycanmove.org. Check out the list of states. If your state is listed, there's a chapter going on. So contact them and get involved with the movement in however you can for whatever amount of time you can. Mm-hmm. And if your state is not on the list and the legislation has not been passed, that would be a reason to contact the national chapter and get a group going in your state. Because Brenda and Jeff will end where we began, which is it is a national movement with grassroots personal feel. And you have the power as an individual in your state to change lives everywhere, right? All right. Yes. So everyone, thank you to Jeff. Round of applause for Jeff and Brenda. Thank you so much for being gracious enough to be our guests today for So Everybody Can Move. We really appreciate you giving us your time and your expertise and such an inspiration. We're not giving up. We're going to do it. I love how it started with Brenda and her partner, Herb. You meet at an adaptive climbing event, and here you are years later, I was going to say raising HELL in honor of my grandma, but I'll say raising heck in the halls of legislature, changing the law with the goal of getting it done statewide, but then nationally at some point. If you want to know more, so everybodycanmove.org. All right. Thank you very much for being here as part of our Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month webinar series. We really appreciate the time and expertise that you've given us. Everybody, next week, we are having a special guest from Open Bionics who will be here with us. If you don't know about Open Bionics specializes in our upper extremity friends, your arms, your hands, your wrists, all the fancy things. Even if you are not somebody with an upper extremity amputation or limb difference, please come to this session. Those folks do not get enough love, and all of you know someone who has that type of amputation or limb difference, and you'll be able to share information with them. We're also doing giveaways, so that's nice too. But come for the information because it'll be really, really interesting. This is a UK company that has offices all over the place in the United States as well. We're going to learn everything upper extremity related and how to advocate for our friends who don't get enough love in our community as part of our continuing series for Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month. Until next time, everyone, enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you for joining us this Wednesday. We'll see you next Wednesday, April 15th, 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Zoom and TikTok. If you want to know more, so everybodycanmove.org. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Jeff, for being with us today. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next Wednesday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Bye.
Bye-bye.